seep through.
I mean, that's just lazy.
You're asking for trouble right there. I mean, zip system. That's what we're talking about today. Last week we talked about Tyvek as a WRB, weather resistant barrier. And now today we're going to talk about its biggest competitor, the up and coming challenger, called zipsystem. So zipsystem is the green stuff you see on the side of buildings that are under construction wherever you go, whether it be a commercial building or a residential building. Lots of them are using this new technology, which is what a lot of people will consider a replacement for Tyvek or house wrap.
So this first video we're going to talk about was taken at the zipsystem or the Hooper Engineering Woods factory, and they have a clip where they show exactly how these zipsystem panels are made.
How you can envision zip is it's a piece of OSB, orange strand board, with a house wrap on top of it. But that's not really what it is. That's the purpose it serves, that's how it acts.
Yeah.
But the way that it's made in the factory, it is fused together.
So it's one.
Yes, so you cannot peel the green layer off and just expose the OSB.
So when we discussed Tyvek last week, we talked about permeability, or perm rating, which is the ability of a material to allow the transmission of vapor, water vapor.
Yeah, and that's necessary so that you can allow
any moisture, something that goes behind the material, to escape.
Right. Because
you're bound to have water vapor get behind that.
Right.
Even if it's not from water itself that's hitting the surface, it can be from the condensation. When hot air meets cold air, there's always condensation at that point. You can have water vapor at that junction.
Right. The important thing is that it's water vapor. It's not water from rain. It's not rainwater.
Yeah. Tyvek has a perm rating of 56.
56 to 58.
56 to 58, yeah. And we saw that the minimum allowed perm rating is 5.
Yes. So it's well within that.
Yeah. So now zip system, like we said, it has two components. So the OSB component of the zip panels has a perm rating of 2 to 3. So it barely allows any vapor to escape through it. The green part of the zip panel, it has a perm rating of 12 to 16. But the makers of zip panels say that since it's fused together, there's no vapor going through behind that weather barrier anyway.
No,
there's no gap. If there's any vapor, it would be in the material or behind the OSB or something. There's no, you know what I mean? When you have Tyvek stapled on, there's a gap between the Tyvek and the OSB.
Right, there's no vapor trap between the
actual
vapor barrier,
and
weather
the
resistant
OSB.
barrier, and OSB. If we look at a typical installation, you'll see the zip system, the green stuff, and then you'll see all this black tape throughout. And this is different than Tyvek because with Tyvek, you're not required to tape anything. You just use that overlap.
But they do have the Tyvek tape around windows, though.
Yes, that's a flashing detail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But with just a typical installation for Tyvek, when it's not acting as an air barrier, it does not have to be taped. Technically, you don't have to use the zip tape.
Well, yes, you do, because the thing with Tyvek is it's protecting the OSB. It's forming a continuous sheet over your OSB. When you have a zip panel, two zip panels are going to have an exposed OSB at that point.
Right.
So
what I was going to say was you don't technically have to use it if you're wrapping your house with Tyvek as well.
If you put Tyvek over this?
Yeah, but then that kind of defeats the purpose of using a zip system.
Yeah.
But the way Zip or Hover would like you to use this system is to use their tape, and so you create a completed weather-resistant barrier, air, vapor, and water all in one.
Yeah.
Without the need of any sort of house wrap.
Yeah, and that tape is very multifunctional. So it serves as flashing tape as well around openings, and even at the bottom at your sill plate.
Your bottom plate.
Bottom plate, you use it over there as well. So it can be used at any seam.
So you'll see another.
That's the proprietary tape.
Yes.
I wonder if they have knockoffs of that. I'm sure they have patents and everything, but there has to be some.
Yeah, and we're talking about zip system, the green panels, because it's the most popular. Just like Tyvek was the most popular house wrap, there are other types of house wrap out there. There's other types of zip systems out there. Not zip systems, but
something like a zip system. Yeah.
And I know LP makes a version of it.
What color are those?
Those are blue.
Those are blue.
Yeah. Yeah. So everyone's going to have their color, kind of like the XPS we discussed. XPS rigid insulation. There's
pink, green, and blue.
Yeah, pink, green, and blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of all these different colors, Zip actually has two different colors. We see the green stuff everywhere, but they also have a brown panel.
Yeah, and I think you don't see the brown because the brown is typically used on your roof, and they want to get that covered up as quick as possible.
Yes.
So the difference is the green is a 7/16 inch zip, and the brown is a 1/2 to 5/8 inch panel. So it's a little bit more rigid. So it's more commonly used on your roof.
And they can be used for your walls or your roof. You can put the green panel on your roof, or you can put the brown panels on your roof. It's interchangeable. It's not that you only have to use the brown panels on your roof.
Right.
There is a significant price difference. So I saw that the 7/16 inch zip, the green stuff, that's $16.25 for a 4x8 sheet.
That probably depends on your area.
I think at Home Depot it was $20.
Yeah, it's about $20.
But when you buy it in bulk, $17.87.
Right.
So when you buy it
probably going to be about $15 to $20 per sheet per 4x8 sheet, which is not that much more expensive than something like a plywood sheathing, which is relatively common.
But if you buy the brown zip panel, that's $26 to $27 per
so
sheet.
You're getting a lot more. So Hubbard has continued to innovate, and they seem to be trying to simplify your construction or the building wall process or the building wall system by combining all these components into one. And a newer product that they've come out with is called Zip sheathing. And so that not only includes all your barriers, your water resistant, your vapor, and your air barrier, your OSB, but it also has a layer of rigid foam insulation behind it.
Yeah, and that's a polyiso foam. I think this came out 2 years ago because this video says it was released in 2018.
It's allowing you to have a continuous insulation throughout the exterior of your house.
Yeah, so in the northern states where you'd have code requirements that where you need both cavity insulation and exterior insulation, this is an excellent solution.
Yeah. Okay.
So I just came back from a workshop by Schluter Systems, and over there they were talking about how the number of people or baby boomers leaving all these specific trades, either the tiling or the drywall guys or the sheathing guys. So the number of those older, more experienced, skilled laborers leaving the force is much greater than the new blood coming into the workforce. And I'm not sure of the numbers. It was like for every 1,000 people leaving, there are like 300 to 500 new people coming in. So there's a shortage in the labor market, in the construction labor market. So technologies like this, like a zip system that combines insulation, sheathing, and an air barrier, it's trying to reduce the number of people that have to be on a construction site. It's trying to foolproof construction. So even people who are unskilled or have minimal skill, who are new to the trade, can figure out how to do this.
What's the most expensive part of any construction project?
Foundation?
Labor.
Okay.
Labor is the most expensive part of any construction project. And so over the past, 20 years, the construction industry has been looking for ways to reduce the amount of labor, whether it be through BIM processes, which we're very familiar with on the technology side of things, using computers to automate as much as possible up front, to fabricate things in-house, to bring them on site so that your installers have to know as little as possible and can screw up as little as possible.
So you think it's both? It's that they're trying to reduce labor costs as well as they have fewer laborers available?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's great that companies are innovating and coming up with new ways to simplify, because if this zip system with our sheathing, where your only option to build houses would be much more airtight. They would be better constructed. You wouldn't have things like thermoply being used.
Yeah. So this new R sheathing that they came out with, from what we can see, they have 4 different types of the sheathing. There's a 1-inch panel that gives you an R value of 3.6.
Yeah, so it looks like that's going to have a half-inch piece of polyiso.
Of polyiso behind it, yeah, because it's 7/16 inch jet plus that. And that, a 4x8 sheet of that's around $38. So you're getting a 4x8 sheet of polyiso for around $17, which is not bad. By itself. Because just the zip sheathing we saw that it's around $17.
Yeah, whenever you're accounting for the cost of a sheet of this material, you have to consider the cost of all the different components you'd have to buy in order to add to this. Yes, if you were to go buy OSB at the store, it's going to be $8 or something really cheap.
Yeah.
Whereas this is $18 to $20 for just your OSB and your WRB zip system, the typical or the basic zip system. But you're getting that house wrap already put on, and you don't have to have that installed later.
Yeah, so you're saving on a lot of time and labor.
Mm-hmm.
Both.
Yeah, I think one of the benefits is that you only have to go around your house one time.
Yes. Yeah. And like that guy said in the video, he claimed that was a 40% time reduction in sheathing your home. And you don't have 2 or 3 guys, one guy rolling out the sheet of Tyvek, another guy stapling it.
One of the concerns with this zip R sheathing is that this foam is fused to the OSB as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you have to, one of the concerns is the OSB sticking to your framing, like attaching the OSB to your framing.
Oh,
when you have,
I see.
like, for example, the R12, which is 2.5 inches thick. Well, I used this, but it's really not that
2.5 inches.
Yeah. So you're having to use longer fasteners, and Zip will specify that you use a particular fastener, and that the spacing has to be much smaller, so that the sheathing can adhere to your studs and prevent racking.
So let's go into the zip tape. I think this is one of the first products they came up with their zip system, before the stretch tape, before the tape 2.0.
Yeah, the liquid flashing. Yeah, because without the tape, zip is kind of pointless.
Yeah, it is. So this is the older way of doing it. To say the video was released in 2014. Mm-hmm. So they had a small piece of tape at the corners. They had a longer piece of tape overlapping that other tape.
Yeah, and so this looks like it's very meticulous labor. He's applying the tape, and then he's having to use a blade to cut it so that he can fold it down properly. And there's a lot of margin for error when doing something like that. You see, it's just sliding and slicing as he pulls it.
And he's being really, really careful not to have any air holes.
Yeah, and you probably would never get a building completed if you did that stuff.
That's true.
Yeah, and that's very important. Is the tape is pressure sensitive, so you have to use a special roller in order to apply it and make sure there are
it's
no
adhered
air bubbles.
properly. Yeah. Like you can't just do a single roll over it. You have to roll over it several times.
Which, in doing this, people are putting a lot of faith in this tape.
Yeah.
But they've done the tests.
And there are a lot of cynics over there. I mean, our brother-in-law is one of them. Like, I'm not going to rely on tape to keep my building dry, but they have these testing facilities. One of them is in UT Austin. UT Austin, yeah. Another is in Florida, where they have tested this tape for 10 to 20 years. I mean, they released this product in 2000, I believe, but I'm sure they've been doing testing way before that to make sure it doesn't fail.
Yeah, in order to bring it to market.
Yeah, so even though they have just a 30-year warranty on this tape, I mean, I'm sure it lasts longer than that. There's no way of telling because it hasn't been around that much,
Right.
that long, but still.
Yeah, but the tests show that it stands up to the elements.
Yeah.
Literally, it's being left out in the elements.
Yes.
Which is not how it would actually be applied. Like
Exactly.
being exposed to UV that much.
So now this part of the video, he is wrapping a window
The window, yeah, with the tape.
with the tape.
Yeah.
It looks like it's wider.
Which is similar to using a DuPont tie-back tape.
Yeah. But this looks like it's much wider than that DuPont tie-back tape.
Yes. Yeah, so I wonder, is he using this? No, it looks like it's the same tape all around.
Yeah.
Or is there a thicker tape you have to use?
But that's like 4 versus 6 inches
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah.
6 to 8.
So maybe you have to use the wider tape for
Around
your
windows.
windows.
Yeah.
And apply it with the roller and keep the bottom open so that you can allow that water that does get in to escape.
You know, it's like we can watch that and say, no one on a construction site is going to care that much. But like to us, that's a smarter way of putting up a window and flashing it.
Yeah, and now I wonder, like when Tyvek came out, where people say no one's going to take the time to overlap it 12 inches and staple it this many times and make sure they don't overstaple or tape the seams and things like that.
That's true.
I think it just takes time for people to adapt to the new technology.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did seem like a slow process, and you have to be very meticulous, and installation is everything. But there's Hubbers continue to innovate and come out with different methods for taping, because I guess not everyone's sold on the tape.
Yeah.
So they have what is called, they have liquid flashing, which to me is just like caulking the exterior of your building.
Mm-hmm.
It's very weird. It's like a Pookie replacement. We all know what Pookie is.
What is Pookie?
Pookie is what you do to fix your
Fix
problems.
anything?
Yeah, seal your holes. Oh, put some Pookie on it.
So it's like silicone? Caulk?
Just put some Pookie on it.
So it's like the liquid tape. It's like a tape in liquid form, right?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because you just, instead of applying the tape, even around your windows, you just apply a bead using a special caulk gun, and you apply a bead, and you, with like a Bondo knife, you smoothen out this liquid flashing, and it turns into a
like an acrylic tape, basically. Yeah. It's very crazy.
Yeah, so just just caulk all around your windowsill.
I mean, it's really good especially for those nail holes in the sheathing, because if someone really wanted to make the entire surface airtight, watertight, it would be hard to put small pieces of that zip tape on every single nail hole.
Yeah, and I'm sure they specify that you need to do that if you want it to be optimal, but you don't really see that on site. But with this liquid flashing,
yeah, like these holes, like these nail holes right here, you could just easily put that liquid flash on all of those and then just
it's like using drywall mud on nail pops, nail holes or something.
That's true. But a lot of people like this over the tape. A lot of people have converted to this. Like this guy who Matt Rizinga is interviewing, I don't know what his name is, but he's used this stuff all over the house.
We call him Mr. Biceps.
Mr. Biceps.
Yeah, you'll see. So here's
that entire bottom plate is
connection to the
stuff.
concrete is just covered with this.
Oh, that's cool.
Pookie. And so I think the important thing is ZIP specifies exactly how much you need to apply. Like you need to apply a bead in a sine wave pattern. And
did they say that?
I don't think they say sine wave, but like let's say a snake pattern, and then it has to be at least 2 inches out or something. They specified all the details, and all that is so that if you install it correctly, it will work properly, and if you don't install it that way, it's not.
It voids your warranty.
Yeah.
One of the buildings that Matt Rizinga and his company built, when they were putting the zip panel up on their home, they put a bead of this liquid flash on the inside of the zip panel, right at the bottom, so up against the OSB. So the reasoning for that was that in case any water or air comes up at that joint between your concrete slab and the bottom of your zip panel, that liquid flash is going to drive the water back out.
Yeah, it's similar to the way the wall sections we saw
That's
last
true.
week, where they would use the house wrap and wrap it underneath that bottom plate
Yeah.
in order to shed water away from the building.
So I wonder what you do about that exposed strip of OSB down there. Like with Tyvek, they have, like you said, a flap coming out protecting that underside of that OSB.
Yeah, do you just fill that with Pookie?
And just fill it with Pookie.
Sorry, with the zipsystem liquid flashing.
How much is this stuff?
I don't know if I can say it's expensive. It's more expensive than regular caulk, but it is. It's so for a 20-ounce sausage, it's about $29.
And I think you can just use your regular caulk gun with this stuff.
It has to be a little larger
Larger one?
I don't know what the regular size is, the one that we use for all the stuff around the house, but there's a larger one you can buy. But they also have special, Zip has special end pieces you can put on your caulk gun that like will spread it in an even
wow.
pattern out for you, so you don't have to go do that sine wave.
That's cool. Yeah, I saw that if you're using that zip tape, they have a special $99 tape dispenser that you should use with the tape.
Oh, to wear on your hip so you can just pull the tape out?
$99. The tape itself costs $27 for a 90-foot piece.
90-foot piece. Okay,
Yeah.
and so you're thinking about you have to use that to wrap all of your sheathing,
Yes.
every seam. So you're going to go through a lot of that.
Yeah.
And with this liquid flashing, 20 ounces will maybe get you through a couple of windows.
Yeah, that's
I
it.
think. But
It's not cheap.
yeah, it's not cheap, but it's an all-in-one system.
Yeah, it's not DIY
Yeah,
friendly, isn't
you
it?
can't consider it as just that liquid flashing is expensive, because you would have to flash your windows somehow.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to use something for it. And so this is
And if it's something that, if done right, it's going to last 30 years, you're spending a good money up front, but it's worth it. As opposed to doing something cheap in the beginning and then having it fail 10 years and then having to rip everything and redo it. That's going to be more expensive.
Yeah. So you're saying it's DIY friendly?
Don't you think so? I mean, it's having the all-in-one combined system. It seems pretty straightforward to put it up. You don't need two people, unlike with Tyvek, you need two people to just put up a single sheet of Tyvek so it's not flapping in the wind.
Yeah, with this, I mean, you're just hanging OSB.
Yeah, and you're
then
driving nails in.
You're putting tape, kind of like you would do drywall tape.
Yeah, it seems pretty DIY friendly.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we talked about the first tape they came out with, the regular tape. The second thing they came out with was the
Liquid flash.
liquid flash. Now the third thing is the stretch tape.
It's most commonly used for penetrations.
Yes.
And it's a really interesting product. I mean, this example right here, he's doing the interior, the sill of a window, and instead of cutting it with a razor like we saw, he's just stretching it and applying
Yeah. And instead of three separate pieces like what that guy was doing and making sure that you overlap one piece over the other piece, he's using a single piece of tape.
it. Kind of
Just stretch it
reminds
out.
me of Silly Putty.
Yeah.
Just the way it's stuck on there, and you're like, whoa, is that really gonna hold? The way that's sitting on there. So
that's pretty cool too. So
Yeah.
around any
Wrapping
outdoor
your
pen.
pipe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you kind of wonder how long this is gonna stick, like especially a stretch tape, because you're
Yeah. But they have a warranty for 30 years on this as well.
right.
It's hard to wrap your head around something like this.
It's new technology. It's hard for us to get on board, or especially hard for the
someone in the profession
Right.
for so long.
Mhm.
Yeah.
the good old boys.
Yeah. They're gonna be very, very cynical about stuff like this.
So in this video, this guy goes out to a random house that's using zipsystem and using the zip tape, and he points out a few installation failures where seams aren't caught. There's air bubbles in the tape, things like that.
And he should have a disclaimer at the beginning of this video. He points out really good stuff, why it was installed badly, why he thinks it's going to fail, but he seems really biased towards Tyvek. So this first failure is that they wrapped it incorrectly around the window. there are lots of air bubbles in that tape, and it's not properly wrapping the window.
And then he's pointing out the joint between where you go from concrete to your framing and to your OSB. It's not taped, it's not sealed in any way.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, well, have they just not completed that part yet, or what's going on? Because that is a major issue.
Yeah, and he claims that most sites don't tape that bottom piece. So.
Yeah, and then right where he was, there was a joint that wasn't taped as well.
Yeah.
And then you can see more tape with air bubbles, which is going to allow water and air to seep through.
I mean, that's just lazy.
You're asking for trouble right there. I mean,
especially with an air bubble pointing upwards, creating like a funnel saying, "Hey, come here, come here." Water.
Yeah. Oh, that's scary. Yeah, and then there's a piece of tape that doesn't even overlap the joint.
Yeah.
So I mean, installation failures. Yes, that is, like we've discussed many times before. Any product installed incorrectly will fail.
And it's not difficult. I mean, they've tried to simplify it to make it easy. So why would you be so lazy? And here he's pointing out how they were trying to hit the stud and they didn't know where the stud was. So they've got multiple holes in the zip, multiple penetrations, not going through the actual stud. And those are just pathways for water, air, vapor, everything to go straight through into your building.
Now, if they were going to go back over this with the
liquid
flashing, and cover up all those staples, then
that wouldn't be an
okay,
issue.
Yeah. So it's important to educate people on site on how to use the system. It's important to inspect these sites and make sure they're installed correctly, and if they're not, they need to be redone.
Yeah. I mean, zipsystem has so much literature out there. They go to all these companies and they want people to use it right. They like their system. They believe in it. They want people to do it right. But no matter how much effort they put into educating people, there's still people out there on site who are not going to care. So how do you resolve something like that? I don't think that can ever be resolved. I mean, there are people who put up Tyvek that don't do it right. Like we saw last week, the stucco was applied directly to Tyvek and caused massive rot in 10 years?
Mm-hmm.
The people who won't put up zip system right. So what do you do?
Yeah, and I think Zip is taking a step in the right direction and integrating as many components together as possible in order to minimize the
room for error.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how it holds up over time. I know one concern that was voiced to us by someone who's actually used Zip on many projects. He will always wrap the Zip system with Tyvek because he does not trust the Zip tape. He feels that it's going to fail eventually, and that Tyvek is a better product. It's sort of that old school mentality. But it does beg the question of, like in Texas where we are, there's a lot of your house is moving a lot. There's a lot of foundation.
Because of the clay soil.
Yeah, because of the clay soil. And it makes you wonder, like, if your house is starting to move, will that Zip tape be able to hold up to the stretching and moving?
So is that a shear movement of your sheathing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the shear value? And I mean, if everything was wrapped in the stretch tape, I wouldn't be worried.
Yeah, you got flex, you're good.
Mm-hmm. But with this tape, that doesn't seem to have any sort of flex to it. So if these panels try to move, does the tape just peel off? And in that case, that's a big issue. How are you going to get past your exterior finish system, whatever you're using over this Zip? How are you going to get past it to replace the tape or fix it when you have foundation work done? Because when we had foundation work done, got a massive crack in our wall. We don't know what's happening on the other side.
Right. Yeah. I can only imagine our OSB is cracked as well.
Yeah.
But the drywall had a huge half-inch to inch crack in it.
Yeah. But like Tyvek doesn't tear. So if your OSB has cracked, I feel like the Tyvek would just accommodate that crack more because it's stapled onto the OSB. It's not part of the OSB.
Mm-hmm.
So
maybe the staple would be pulled out or something.
yeah, staple would be pulled out, but it would still probably stay there.
But with the zip tape, if your tape comes off, then you've got
a big penetration.
yeah, for a leak. Mm-hmm. I think we just have to wait and see over time to see how the zip system holds up.
Yeah, I mean, like with EFIS, whenever they came out with it in the 80s, very, very quickly you found problems with it. Like all the lawsuits and everything that came out with the leaky condos issues, it happened in a very short period of time. And Zip has already been around for 20 years and there haven't been like outrageous lawsuits against this company.
Yeah, it seems like the only people that are out against it are the
Tyvek.
the DuPont Tyvek people and the old school builders that just don't trust it.
Yeah, but there's no actual proof out there that this is failing.
On a wide scale.
On a wide scale, yeah.
Installation failures, understandable.
Yeah.
So that brings us to our topic we're going to discuss next week. We're going to start looking at different types of sheathing for the exterior of your building. I just want to talk about thermoply because I want to know why the heck
on earth
anyone
people
would
are
use
using
it. So join us next week as we continue our search for the perfect
anti-contractor home.
anti-contractor home. Bye for now.
Bye.